877-381-3811. Question: how many illegal aliens have or ever have worked for Nancy Pelosi and Paul Pelosi on their vineyard or in any other of their businesses? Anybody know the answer? Nobody's ever asked, have they? They've never asked. How many illegal aliens have ever worked for any of these billionaires and multimillionaires? They've never asked. Why? 10 years of tax returns with the former head of Starbucks. Will he be releasing 10 years of tax returns? Why hasn't anybody asked him? They didn't ask him on 60 Minutes, did they, Mr. Producer? I didn't watch it. How about 10 years of tax returns for Bloomberg? Will they be releasing those? My wife says no. And the Bloomberg children. What about 10 years of their tax return? I mean, this is what Trump's being asked to do. And why stop at 10? How about 40 years? Just saying. 10 years of tax returns. And what about illegal aliens? Are they going to be asked about that? Well, Nancy Pelosi really ought to release 10 years of tax returns. Remember this little bit from 60 Minutes in 2011, thanks to Peter Schweizer? You don't remember what I'm talking about, do you? Nancy Pelosi in 2011? Things Trump did 40 years ago are news. This is just 2011. Steve Croft, 60 Minutes. I just want to remind you, all you Castros out there, go ahead.
I wanted to ask you why you and your husband, back in March of 2008, accepted and participated in a very large IPO deal from Visa. At a time there was major legislation affecting the credit card companies making its way through the House. And did you consider that to be a conflict of interest?
I don't know what your point is of your question. Is there some point that you want to make with that?
Well, I guess what I'm asking is, do you think it's all right for a speaker to accept a very preferential and favorable stock deal?
Well, we didn't.
You participated in the IPO.
Well, I have many
and at the time you were Speaker of the House. You don't think it was a conflict of interest or had the appearance of a conflict of interest?
It only has the appearance if you decide that you're going to have elaborate on a false premise. But it's not true, and that's that.
I don't understand what part's not true.
Yes, sir. That I would act upon an investment. Yes,
Congresswoman Pelosi pointed out that the tough credit card legislation eventually passed, but it was 2 years later and was initiated in the Senate.
I will hold my record in terms of fighting the credit card companies as a Speaker of the House or as a member of Congress up against anyone's.
Really, Nancy? May I call you Nancy? I think I will. I'm told that, let's see, the Starbucks guy said he would release his tax returns. Good. I look forward to the liberal media combing through them. Now, this is the guy that had all kinds of weird rules in place at Starbucks, you know? But now he's running as a centrist, a moderate centrist. I say go for it, baby. He's a left-wing Democrat. He wants to run as a moderate centrist. Go for it. Bloomberg, another billionaire, he said that won't work. He can't win as a independent because of the party system in the various states. So he'll just defeat the Democrat. Maybe I should use reverse psychology, Mr. Producer, and trash this guy. Make him angry so he'll insist on running. Anyway, what do you think of this Nancy Pelosi? We'd want her tax returns for sure because she's Speaker of the House. I'm going to keep hammering this. I really believe it. And here she is on the pay differential. Cut 2, go.
We're at a time when the disparity in income in our country is immoral.
Now, this is a woman and her husband are worth about $150 million, maybe $200 million. Everything's immoral. The wall's immoral. Being wealthy is immoral, but she's not immoral. She's moral, and so is her husband, Paul. So it's immoral. You're a successful person. Maybe you invented a life-saving device or drug. Maybe you employ 1,000 people. Well, apparently you're immoral. Boy, oh boy. Go ahead.
40-some years ago that the CEO earned 40 times what the workers did. And when productivity went up, the income went up.
I guess she's not aware of the Industrial Revolution and John Rockefeller, Andrew Mellon, Carnegie, Vanderbilt. I could go on and on and on. You know, the Anderson Cooper bloodline. Well, don't confuse me with history. Go ahead.
CEO and of the workers. That changed over time because it was all about the bottom line and quarterly reports. And now the disparity between the CEO and the workers.
You know, this is amazing. No offense. She lives off her husband. They didn't create their businesses together. I read an article back several years ago where she said, you know, where she was able to be a volunteer in politics and run for office thanks to her husband. I'm just telling you that's your Speaker of the House. Go ahead.
Like 350 or 400 times. Many CEOs have already made.
All right, that's enough. This communist BS is just too much to handle. Marginal tax rate, and we're going to take your wealth, and we may take your property if you're screwing with the tenants. And while we're at it, you know, we need a $15 minimum wage, even though you're going to put little pizzerias and so forth. Well, we don't care. Get the big guy. And we need to close the gap between this one and that one, and so. And look at the absolute coconut heads like Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders, who are leading the charge. They don't even have any experience in anything other than propaganda. I can't stand, you know, I can only take so much. People say, how do you do this? Well, sometimes it's not so easy.